So welcome everyone who's joining us again for the Joyspring Online Family Festival. And we have Azizi Birkeland here with us. And Azizi travels the world with her life-learning family comprised of her husband and 2 young daughters as a family wellness accelerator and transformational health coach. She is devoted to helping families who feel disconnected and unfulfilled to become skillful in positively identifying their holistic health needs, to unleash their full potential from a healthy mind-body connection. She does this in a way that honors and nurtures their family values so they can lead a more harmonious life, unapologetic and unafraid. She is also launching Tiny Green Chef, an online nutritional cooking program for kids, teaching them how to grow a healthy appetite for whole plant-based foods so they want to eat them without conflict, coercion, or complaint, using fun kitchen science experiments and cooking exercises, all with plant ingredients. So today in this session, she's going to talk to us about crisis, community, and connection. Thank you and welcome, Azizi Birkeland, broadcasting from Bali.
Thanks for having me here. Sorry, I was muted. And it's great to be here in this time and space. Today I want to talk about crisis, connection, and community, and why I think now is a beautiful time to connect and collaborate to create the world that we know we deserve. Right now, it doesn't matter how you see it and what your views are. I think most people will agree that we are, things are out of balance. And whether that is in health, whether that is in the way people are being treated, in the way people are treating each other. I would say, to be honest, we've been in crisis mode by definition for a really, really long time. The difference is now it is so upfront and center and blasting you from so many different areas that it's hard to deny. So I think it's actually a beautiful time because from my perspective, we have needed to actually start to really, really connect for a really long time. And many of us will know that in our lives, it generally takes things to get to an heightened sense before you take notice. You know, if you're in a relationship, the relationship doesn't just all of a sudden go from one day everything is perfect to the next day where it's disastrous and you need to leave. That's not how it has happened. It has been happening slowly and going unaddressed over time, either because you didn't want to, you were afraid to, or you didn't know how to. But it didn't happen overnight. So in order for actual real connection to take place in crisis, everyone is paying attention. So this is why it's a beautiful time, because we've got everybody's attention right now, no matter what area, whether you're talking about illness and how disease manifests, or how your body feels under attack, or how your mind feels under attack, or right now where there are people who are constantly under brutality and being witnessed by the world. So right now, we have the perfect opportunity to decide if we're going to continue on this road. So it's a beautiful time if you look at it that way. Now, if you stay in crisis mode for too long, though, you're going to start operating, and many are already operating from a place of fear that wants to keep confirming the crisis. Now, we already know, right? This isn't a new situation. So we don't need to keep doing things and posting things and validating that we're in a crisis. We get it, we get it. So now it's time to move into the next stage. Don't get caught in the stage of we're in crisis, we're in crisis. Usually by the time you recognize you're in crisis, it's already too late to even announce it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like that time to be afraid when there's something really going down is already too late, because in the state of there being an actual conflict or crisis, you don't have time to be in the state of fear for too long, or that will get you hurt it will get you nowhere. So now that we know we're in crisis, okay, people, welcome to the table. We know this is happening. We get it. Now, what we do about it is way more important than constantly drawing attention to the crisis itself. We can only do anything about what we want by pointing ourselves in the direction that we want to go in. So there are many ways that you can do that, and we do not need to wait. And especially, I do not believe it is a good idea to wait until you are told that it's safe to come out or it's safe to connect, because that disconnection is why so many people feel afraid, and why you can feel the crisis, because you can't connect right now, or you believe you cannot connect with another being. So what Deanna is doing right here is is a perfect example of how to connect in a so-called crisis. We could continue. This was supposed to be live and in person, right? But why stop there? Why allow your life to be dictated? Why not go ahead anyway? And now, because it's being recorded and because it's virtual, you can have an even greater reach potentially, because people can connect later on after this has taken place and still get in on the conversation. So how to connect? You start where you're at. That's number one. If you have people who you know are on board with creating, now is the time. If you've been talking about, oh, we should, you know what we should do? We should really plan this meeting. We should really start a communal garden. All of those we should, now is the time to do it. Don't think about it, just do it. Just push the button and do it. There are no reasons why we cannot create the world that we want, except that we have not just started to do the work. It's just that simple. The world we have right now is only happening because we are committed to maintaining it. So that means anything else that we want, we have to recommit to a new way. And we have to do what it takes to constantly reaffirm our commitment. So whether it's a communal garden, and that sounds small, but it's really not. We have to eat every day. I just talked about how to think about how to evaluate your foods and nourish yourself. We have to do this every day. So one of the ways to draw people in is a community garden. Now that seems simple, but as you are in that community garden space, you have the opportunity to start discussing, to start talking in a calm and open and acceptable environment, to start going to the next stage of talking about what's really wanted right now. Who is around you that you can actually align with, that you can collaborate with. Not collaborate for, not in a way that you're sitting in or talking about what you're going to do for other people. You matter, what you need matters, and is important. You need to be a part of the conversation and on the receiving end of the change as well. So try not to get caught up in the, excuse me, one moment, let me tell my daughter. Okay, they're just waking up. So what you need to make sure when you are doing your collaboration is to make sure that you're a part of the receiving end and the giving end. It has to be reciprocal. It has to be cyclical. So a lot of what people do in a crisis is think about who they need to take care of. Oh, we need to take care of those people. I'm just going to extend all my stuff to those people. Well, guess what? As a parent, you might know that you cannot, like they say when you're on the plane, put on your oxygen mask first before you put on someone else's. Why? Because we need you fully functional. So if your plan does not include you and how you're going to be supported, then it's going to fail. Because what happens is more people give and the other people get in the receiving end. And at some point, the givers are tired and then they back off. And then it's the progress goes down. You ever notice that? In any types of these kinds of crises, people go hard on what they're going to do for other people, but there's no plan about how we're going to do it together and how we're going to sustain this relationship. It becomes very one-sided. I give, you receive. I give, you receive. But who's fueling the giver? So the giver must be on the receiving end. It has to be a collaborative effort. One of the things that I had initiated, and I'm actually starting to initiate this here in Bali, is something called a time exchange. These are a time exchange. If you haven't heard of it, I'm going to explain it briefly. It's really powerful. Essentially, it goes beyond a barter system. So it's time exchange, which you can set up at any time, anywhere. It's basically a time for time, skill for skill service that you can create with each other. And that means that you get together with a group of people. It can start as small as 3 or 4. Think about all of the things that you are willing to share with other people, and they think about whatever it is they can share with you. That's from food to services to dog walking to mentoring, whatever it is you know that maybe you've been holding out on, or you're out of work, but you still have these skills, and you can exchange these skills time for time. Not in this where I had 10 years of school, so that I should get 3 hours. If I give this 1 hour and they're just a dog walker, then they should get just 1 hour to my 3 hours if I do a massage. No, because in order for us to have true collaboration, we have to see each other and each other's time as equally valuable. In a crisis, you're going to find that people are going to start deciding who's more valuable than others, and they start deciding who gets spared. And that angers people and that isolates people. We have to do it collaborative where everyone feels equally valued, not just in the giving, but also in the receiving, which means that giving, you have got to give from a place of compassion and not from a place of, I have something you want, and so now I get to dictate how it's given. So it's something like a time exchange. Basically, you would put your time in the bank. If I do something for Deanna and I come over and help Deanna for an hour, putting her garden together, now I have an hour in the bank that I can exchange with anyone else who's also offering services or skills to each other. Why is a time exchange powerful? And you can look it up because maybe you don't understand what I'm talking about. But a time exchange is really powerful because it allows people to see their value in anything that they have to offer, and you start to recognize just how much we have to offer each other without ever entertaining the idea of money. It is not free because you're giving your time. That's all we actually are giving anyway. It's just some people are giving more so-called value for their time, which creates this animosity and inequality in the first place, because there are some people getting more so-called value for their time, yet everyone's spending all their time throughout the day doing their part. So then when that happens, people stop doing their part. And the people who are supposedly of greater value start saying, well, if I'm going to do my part and I'm worth this amount, then I'll pull out. So then everyone starts pulling out. And what are we left with? Crisis. We're left with people we can't count on. If we want to be able to really move forward into a place of connection, we have to be willing to give unequivocally without using this value-based system that comes from the outside. I see you as you. Everything that you have to offer, I believe is of value. And you set the terms, obviously, because you can decide who you exchange with. But the idea is it eliminates barter system when it all goes into a central space. So I no longer have to just hang out with the people who I think I can do something for and they can do something back for me. It encourages you to give to everyone because first of all, you accumulate time in the system that we create that you can then exchange with anyone. So try something like a time exchange. And while you are doing these, what's more important even than a time exchange with the Skillshare is to constantly be in dialogue. I would recommend reading some Peter Block books. Peter Block is a great community connector. He has a book called Community, and he has a book called Saying Yes. I'm chopping it up. Look for Peter Block. His books are really powerful in terms of how we can create real connections where everyone feels a value without this system of hierarchy, entitlement, and privilege. Because the moment some people believe that they have something another person doesn't have, then we start again a hierarchical system. Even if it's just in theory, or even if it's just something that there's an undertone of it that you can't actually prove. The moment we start saying you have something that I don't have, and you have to give it up before we're equal, then we're right back to where we started from, crisis. Because no one wants to be called out. No one wants to feel that they have something that they should just give up without knowing that they're going to be on the receiving end, because we have a need to self-preserve. So hopefully this is helpful. I'll take some questions because I can go on about this, but number one, what I'm saying is start where you're at. Start opening conversation. And conversation is not about solutions. Conversation is about bringing people to the table to be able to start to discuss who we are and who we want to be together. So if you start going straight to solutions, you're already starting off in the wrong end, because you can't get to solutions without actually connecting with the people around you to see what you have and what you can do together. And that's why I say something like as small as a communal garden, to start to get dialogue around something that we all need to do every day to warm people up, to see each other sharing and creating together. And then you start opening up conversations of how we can continue this on a larger scale. Definitely set up a time exchange. I don't care if it's just 5 people. I don't care if it's just on your street. You all have something to offer, and everyone deserves to see their value being exchanged. And we need each other. We need to admit that we need each other. There is no way that we can do this alone. We are not doing it alone. Doing something like a time exchange, a communal garden, setting up potlucks, starting where you're at, doing a webinar and inviting people into a conversation. Just do it. Don't wait for permission. Right now, we don't have any time to wait. So do what it takes, but make sure that it's a give and receive. Not a give, and a take. Not a they need more than I need, so I'm going to step back so that that'll even things out. That's not how you even things out. Because what happens then while you're sitting there waiting for your turn, do you think at some point people are going to give you your turn when they feel that now they're on top? No, because that's why we've been in this world. So we need to all be going into the stage together and equally, clean slate. So I'm going to stop there and see if Deanna, if you have anything you'd like to ask, or if anyone out there has anything to ask in this time. And I have plenty of time. It depends on how long you need to go.
Well, I too could talk about this subject for a very long time. So I really would love to welcome some of our, guests who are here tuning in, to take the opportunity to ask Azizi questions. And, if there's anything that you're having trouble wrapping your head around, or want to clarify, or even just to chime in and say, yes, I get it, I agree. I want to invite a discussion. And yeah, nobody's chiming in. I think, a lot of people are shy about talking and hearing their voices, or maybe they're cooking dinner right now and just watching. But
this is one of those things. This is one of those conversations that it's hard to know. We have Rebecca. Rebecca, are you? Hello.
I have a question. I just really appreciate both of you here sharing, and want to take advantage of the opportunity to ask you a question. I'm curious, if I'm a solo parent and I have 2 kids, and it's been hard for me to create those connections in the community. I moved right before my youngest son was born. And so any suggestions on how, when we already feel like we have so much on our plate, like what are ways that we can get out into that community to start making those connections and meeting those like-minded people, or just finding and following that thread to get us to creating that, right? Because I would love to help and I would love to be of service, but like I don't know where to plug in, and I feel like my time is kind of stretched in providing for the people I already have here at home. So I'm meeting.
I love this question, and you actually answered it in what you're saying. So a lot of time, I hear this a lot. I'm so stressed, I'm so tired, I have so much on my plate. How do I find time to connect? Well, that's exactly why you want to connect. We are doing too much on our own. This is not how it is designed to be. So it feels overwhelming because it is when you're doing way too much on your own. That's a perfect reason why you want to connect. You can start with where you're overwhelmed that you wish you could have help. You know, Diana, when I lived in New Jersey, Diana and another woman, we put together a Friday co-op every week where other homeschoolers came to my home and we set it up and created this communal homeschool pop-up every Friday. We had different themes in different rooms. We ate together. We even had a way that we ate together that we made sure was communal and connected. And that definitely was a really big highlight of my week because we were connecting with other people who were doing what we needed to do anyway. And we were also teaching our children how to connect and how to start where you're at. So look at some areas in your life that are overwhelming right now that maybe some other people have help in. And you're thinking, wow, I wish that could be me. And you're going to have to be willing to put yourself out there and be the one to start it. You don't have to be the one to lead it. I recognize not everyone has that, feels comfortable being in the, what they would call leadership role, but many people are really great connectors themselves. They know how to put people together. And so you can just open up your space, figure out what it is, where you can start, and what would really, really make your week feel more fulfilling or your month feel more fulfilling if only you could do it together with other people. Think about that. You know what that is. Even if it's just starting a forum with other parents or other single parents in the area, please don't exclude men. There are a lot of single dads out there as well. Bring them to the table. Start where you're at and connect with them. See who you can help and what you guys can do together to create that family environment that you need. It's not supposed to be done alone. I know we have heard the proverb, it takes a village. It really does. That's why people lived in villages. But now what we have, because of the way that we've been domesticated, is the system of isolation and separation. And so people feel uncomfortable admitting that they can't do it alone because there is a system giving you the impression that you are weak if you're not doing everything, if you can't do everything that they have placed upon us on your own. But it is impossible, and that's why it feels overwhelming. What you're feeling is a direct response to knowing that this is not what you should be doing. You should not be doing it alone. So that's a little bit of a pep talk, but what I'm saying to you is start where you feel most overwhelmed, that you feel comfortable admitting, I cannot and I do not want to do this alone anymore. And I'm going to open up my home, or I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to set up a meetup. I'm going to start a Zoom, just like we're doing here with other people. Even just knowing that you're connected to other people, like what we're doing here, starts to create the space for you to open up and feel more connected and feel less overwhelmed, just knowing that other people get it. So start where you're at. You can do this. You have to do this, really. I saw something else in the chat. Just want to make sure. Yes, said thank you. So hopefully that helped you. And just sit, you can sit with that and see if it makes any sense to you.
That's really great. And thumbs up from Rebecca. Yeah, and so profound and so important. And I would like to add to speak out and let your voice be heard. I think that, is in alignment with all the programming, everything that you just talked about. I think what a lot of people struggle with is that fear of being heard, right? We know the phrase, children should be seen and not heard. And we were steeped in that tea growing up. And so it can feel really physically terrifying, like you might be annihilated if you speak your truth. So, but that's what we're talking about here. Opening up and sharing and connecting with someone, and you never know what's going to get reflected back, right, when we do.
Correct. And you're absolutely right. The getting you to be silenced, Rebecca, I talked about the John Taylor Gatto over in the last talk, is exactly what Deanna is talking about, is how we got there. That seen and not heard is very, very important to silencing our truth and our power. So admitting it is honestly the first step. Admitting it openly, hearing it out loud in front of other people, allowing that feeling of vulnerability to be out and witnessed by other people. You will open up the space for other people. Many people are feeling exactly the same thing. The birds are really taking over, and the exact same feeling, but they are uncomfortable with being heard because they are afraid that no one else resonates with that. So we need people who are willing to say what they feel, if anything, just to allow other people. And that's where the real power is, where people know that they have a right to express themselves, and then they do it. And whatever that looks like. And it's ugly in the beginning when you start expressing yourself. You don't necessarily know how without seeming so aggressive. So you might even go through that phase. That's fine, because when you start using your voice, just like when a baby's learning how to walk, it looks a little bit, you wonder, now they're gonna ever get there, right? It's stumbling, they're falling over, they're throwing tantrums, they're angry with themselves. Why can't I get this? Why can't I get this? You gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other. It might have to get a little bit ugly and unstable before you actually get grounded. But in order to do that, you've got to be putting those feet out there and be willing to walk one foot in front of the other, no matter how wobbly it is. And you have to do it alone. Just like a baby has to walk and learn to walk alone. We all have to learn how to walk alone, but look at how we cheer each other on when we can see that they are in this space of becoming. We love to see that in people. And the ones who don't are just the ones who haven't given themselves permission to do that. So allow yourself to do that. You have a right, you deserve it. It's your birthright. And it's a part of the rite of passage of becoming. It really is. And that means I take the mic and I'm going to be heard. Whoever's listening will hear you, but it's not even about the listening. It's about you actually allowing yourself to hear yourself openly and honestly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Azizi. We have reached the end of the half hour. If there is, anything else you want to add, I know we could continue talking about this for, a very long time. And well, I invite people to reach out to you if they do want to continue the conversation. I'll post all the links under the YouTube video replay, since the website I had up is having issues. So I'll just put it right into the replay so they don't have to look far for it. So yeah, do you want to say anything else in closing?
Just thank you for opening up the space here for people to be heard and people to listen. This is what we need to do, and this is what we should continue to do, because we're a human family, no matter how they want to divide us and have the good ones from the bad ones and the good cousins, and all of that is just distraction. So thank you for honoring yourself and honoring us to go so far as to put on something openly, because you can, without permission. We need to be more unapologetic in our process. And that is why I always talk about being unapologetic and unafraid. When you have that combination, then you can do anything, because you recognize that you can, because it's your right, it's your birthright. So everybody out there, accept your birthright, step up. And if you don't know how to do that, reach out and get close to people who do. It's contagious. Decide who you're going to rub, who's going to rub off on you. And there are a lot of great speakers, a lot of great people in this movement that you can get in close proximity to see what that feels like and witness what that's like, to see someone who is willing to do what it takes to self-emancipate so that we can all be free together. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, I have to bring up one more point, because in the last talk, you mentioned the 4 agreements and how you were already thinking and feeling and intuiting, and had these, people were like, oh, this sounds a lot like the 4 agreements, and it was in sync. Well, what I want to say about this now and why that pertains to this is the idea that we need a certification, a degree, a training. Don't let that stop you also from speaking your truth, or from developing something that is useful for other people, whether it's a service or a product.
Correct, correct. We're in the age of expert is everybody but you. Okay? So you got to take back the expert in you. Expert yourself. You are the expert in your life. And there are many ways to proclaim that, but first start with acknowledging that you have that right, because you're absolutely right. By the way, any certification is just being certified by another human. So, and who's been certified by another human, it just goes on and on and on. So remember that whenever someone starts putting all these titles behind their name, remember they were just validated by another human. You can validate yourself. In fact, you should, just by you existing. You're already validating that you are. So do not wait for an expert. Do not wait for all the certifications. It is a constant learning and relearning. So you'll never be done with all the certifications anyway, because the moment you fuel up on one thing, it opens up the realm for you to learn another thing. So constantly do that and just be transparent so that we can all see what that looks like, to constantly be elevating when you start to go on that journey to expert yourself. I love that. That's absolutely right, Gianna. On point.
And that ties back into, what was that?
We just need to do another one of these.
Yeah, it ties back into something a little bit earlier about being a lifelong unschooler. We're just going to open up doors, and then another door will open up, and just keep, walk along and keep learning, and then embody what you learn and live it. So that's a great way to face this crisis, making connections. Yeah.
Yeah, the real crisis that we're in is disconnection. I should have said that from the beginning, because there wouldn't be crisis if we were doing the work collectively to recognize that we're on a road to nowhere. We don't have to wait till we get to the dead end. We already know. So the real crisis is the lack of connection, the lack of collaboration, which means actually it can be solved pretty easily. There isn't actually anything that we can't control that is taking place right now. That's the beauty. The difficult part is people to recognize that it's actually quite small. And it's just that it's on a global scale, so it seems larger, but the real problem is disconnection. That's just one thing. Easy. Work on connecting. That's all you need to do. Stop focusing on the disconnection itself. We already know that. Focus on the connection. That's all our problem is the lack of connecting. First, people have to get connected with self, though. When you do that, then you can see other people as a whole being. And then your crisis, inner crisis, goes away, and then people start to witness what it looks like for someone to not be in crisis mode. And that's why people are attracted to certain people at this time. Because when they see someone who doesn't seem to be sticking their head between their legs and running and hiding, then they're like, wait a minute, what do they know that I don't know? Be that person. Be that person. Show that person what a connected individual looks like, and that they have a right to connect as well with themselves. And then you can connect really powerfully with each other. It just will happen automatically, just like we're doing here. We can't even end this because of the connection, because of how much it resonates. So yeah, don't end it. We're going to end this here, but this is just the beginning of that constant connection and reconnection that we need to do. Keep plugging back in, charging up, using that energy, charging up again, just like how you do with all your electronics, right? You don't let them just completely die and then you go get another battery. That would be silly. You keep recharging it every day. You make sure that that's charged up so it can be fully functional. That's you. You're the same thing. And that's why you can work so well when you're charged up. But if you let yourself be drained, then you're just useless to yourself and others. Don't allow that to happen. Keep charging up, and we charge up by plugging in to each other, that motherboard. We are the motherboard. It's funny, we're both the charger and the receiver. So, yeah, this is good stuff. So,
I want to recognize also that this quarantine and drawing the circle closer to our home has opened up the opportunity for connecting with our community, with our neighbors, and in ways that we haven't. So yes, seeing the opportunities in the so-called crisis, and may this continue to nourish our relationships and grow new connected, more connected world of connecting communities. Here we are talking to you from Bali to Bloomfield, New Jersey. So for everybody who is tuning in at a later time, thank you so much for being here. Everybody who's here live, thank you for listening and contributing your energy and your questions. And much gratitude to Azizi Birkeland for your time so early in the morning, your generosity and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you.